Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends. It is an amazing day today. I am so grateful that you're here and with us. As you can see, we have a different change of scenery behind us. We're still here at AmFest. We're going to be buckled down here for the next 4 days. Today's day one. We were setting up yesterday, and it is jam-packed. And we've got a bunch of people who are wandering around back here in exhibition hall. We've got media row here. I've seen some amazing people that you're very familiar with. We got to introduce ourselves to Adam Johnson. You may know him as Lectern Guy. He's here. We got to say hello. He should be stopping by here throughout the weekend. We also see Ivan Ranklin is right down the hall. I see him doing an interview down there as well. And so we're very excited to be here. We're glad that you're joining us. We're going to have a jam-packed weekend, but we got business to attend to today. And so we got 3 different segments that we're going to jump in on. And as you can tell, there's some noise in the background. And when there's music and when there is this exhibit that has its moment, we'll pause and we'll just pay tribute to what they're doing over there. And we'll keep the train on the tracks here. But we do have 3 good segments that we want to unpack today. Big Fani Willis news. Fani from Georgia has been disqualified. And we're going to go through the appeal and the order that came down from the court and unpack it. And what does that mean? And what is Trump's defense team saying in response to that? We also have Fani Willis, who's already appealing this. And so she's, I guess, not getting the hint. So we'll go through that. As you can see, I've got the full order from the court listed right here. It's 31 pages of juicy goodness. And what this is doing is saying that Judge McAfee was actually incorrect. He made a mistake. He should have disqualified Fani from the beginning, didn't do that. And now the Court of Appeals is having to correct this. And so we'll go through that. I got reaction from Trump's defense attorney, Steve Sadow. You remember who he is. We've got Alina, who's coming in with reaction. We've got a little reaction clip here from our friend ALX on X, who has some of Fani Willis's greatest hits. We'll take a look at some of those. And then we got more reaction from CNN and others because they're very unhappy about it. But the truth is, Fani's already appealing this. I think she's going to want to take this up to the Supreme Court there in Georgia. And so we'll, of course, be here covering all of that. We're going to zoom in on that in a minute. We also have a Luigi Mangione update because he has now been federally indicted. He's already been indicted in New York, but now federal charges have come down the pike. Southern District of New York has submitted a new indictment, and we'll unpack it here and see what is inside because there is a little bit of a difference between what they charged him with and what they've charged him with in New York. So a difference between the state and the federal charges. And you can see this is the full indictment. We'll look through it. We'll see, did they charge him with terrorism? And why are they charging him? Do they think that Alvin Bragg maybe is going to botch the case and not be able to deliver? So we got the full indictment there. They also had a perp walk for Luigi. You can see this is what it looks like. So we'll watch the full clip. Half the New York Police Department showed up there. Even Mayor Eric Adams is there. It's like, don't these guys have anything better to do other than be here for this one particular crime? People are being shot all over the place in New York, but they're going to really make this something that they focus on. So we'll go through that. And then we've got a spending update, and we've got an Elon Musk for Speaker of the House update. What on earth? We got Rand Paul, who's floating that idea, saying that maybe Elon should be the speaker, and we've got reaction and thoughts on that. In fact, there's more people who are talking about it, not just Rand Paul. It's an interesting list that has been developing here. Over via Newsweek, we'll see who's on the list, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and perhaps some others. But my friends, of course, the big news on the day is Fani Willis, and so we're excited to get into that. Let me give you a quick tour. As we're here, we've got a second camera set up, and so this is what the other side of me looks like right here. You can see it's a little bit busier than it was yesterday, and we've got some folks walking around. Let me see if I can spin this around a little bit without breaking things. Here you go. So this is what the event looks like. That's my blinding light for you. Parsing around this way. And then the camera drops as soon as I go past that certain degree. All right, so we'll avoid that. But we've got a bunch of activity here. We've already had an opportunity to meet some amazing people. I want to shout out Ricky, who is here today. We had a great conversation with our friend Ricky, and Ricky has been very generous today, and he's been an amazing dude. So shout out to Ricky. We love Ricky. And many others, okay? We had some other good friends here. Here's Ricky right there walking over there. He's right over there. And so we've got some good friends. We took a photo with Truth, and shout out. And so we've got some awesome friends who Tara was here. We got to say hi to Tara. And so it's been a lot of fun. So my friends, we've got AmFest here. The next, look at this dude, man. That is like Blade. Blade is here, man. Amazing. Outstanding. Is that Neo from the Matrix? I don't know. But we've got a lot of fun happening here. And so we're live streaming. I am excited that you're here. We're early, and yes, yeah, it's early. We're a little bit early today. And so let's get to it. Let's talk Fani Willis while we're here and get into it. Let me make sure we're coming in loud and clear, right? We're coming in loud and clear. Hey, Ricky, we want a shout out? You want a shout out? Come on over, man. Come say hi. All right, my friends, this is Ricky. We got to meet earlier. What's up, Ricky?
How you doing?
So I was just sharing that you were very generous today, and you had purchased a gift for us and for the show.
Yeah, it's because you deserve it. You know, this man's doing God's work. He's putting out the truth. I know on election night, I tried to watch 3-4 different channels. His channel was the one to watch because you got all of the facts all at the same time. So my wife actually loves watching your show too. So you just keep up doing the good work. Man,
I'm so appreciative of you. It's so fun talking to you, and I'm grateful for you for saying all that. I mean, it's like it's weird to meet you in person. You know, I'm usually sitting here behind a camera, and so this is a new experience, and so it's been awesome.
Yeah, I want to see how you handle being next to this display over here.
Yeah, we'll make it
interesting.
Yeah, we'll
Folks,
make it.
don't give him any hard time on the sound because he's right next to an amazing display.
Yeah, so here's the display. This is what we're talking about. So this is a veterans display, and so they've got this whole wall here that is uncovered now in honor of our veterans and armed services, and so it's an amazing exhibit. It's also just a little loud when they play that music, which is all good. We'll make it work. So. You're here for the full event. Where are you from?
I am from Los Angeles area, and I recently just got back from going to North Carolina. I went there to help for a month. Luckily, I'm set up. Not many people can do that for a month.
Yeah.
Pull their life apart.
Yeah, totally.
But, and, you know, just trying to do God's work.
Well, man, I appreciate you being here. And how about something you're most excited about for this next term?
I'm just waiting for it to all come together. Yeah. I think... you know, there's probably about 4 or 5 different things. Like if the RFK, if he can fix the food pyramid, that alone would have been enough to vote for Trump.
Yeah.
If the border gets fixed, that enough would have been enough to vote for Trump.
Yeah.
There's literally, you could do that about every parameter that he has, and they were individual reasons to vote in that direction.
Yeah.
So the fact that we get the full package is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about all that too. I mean, it's going to be, we got a lot of work to do. There's a big list there, but that's
I've got
a nice
grandkids.
list.
I want that health issue fixed, and love the fact that we might pay less taxes, getting ready to get into Social Security, you know, not having to pay tax on that might be a pretty good plan.
Yep.
Seems like I already paid taxes on it once, I think.
Yeah, you did.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, on everything, many times.
And if you haven't been in the stock market lately, hello? Jump in, it's not too late. Hasn't even had the inauguration. Everything is up. And so I think the country is excited. Don't you feel that?
I feel it, man. I feel it everywhere. I think there's good energy. I think even people who were maybe kind of middle of the road are starting to there's a crack in the facade, like they're starting to show their excitement a little bit, and there's a little bit more energy.
And some of us aren't afraid to wear a little bit
of
the merch, you know, to kind of spread the word.
That's right.
When I was in North Carolina, it was a blessing to see every day somebody was helping somebody.
Yeah.
And so this country can be united. We can come together. And all we got to do is find some way to give back one more thing, and you're a part of that.
Man, I appreciate it.
So if you can support this man, just consider him part of your tithing. Literally, he's doing God's work. And at whatever level you can give this man, whether it's $5 or $50 or $100, if you can, it's not going to go to anything but a good cause. And I just really appreciate Robert.
Man, I'm really appreciative of that. And like I said, we were talking before we got started here, and he was giving me great feedback on the show and some of the membership stuff, and just really great feedback in general. And so it's been an honor to meet you. It's been a privilege.
Yeah. Yeah,
I appreciate
keep
you.
going on. I'll be floating around here all week
Yeah.
watching you perform. Probably you're going to be here the whole weekend.
We're streaming, baby. We're here.
Yeah, this is a great event. If you ever get a chance to also support Charlie Kirk and Turning Point, again, these people are doing God's work. Hand to God is what we're talking about. So keep it up.
Man, we're grateful you're here.
All
We
right,
appreciate it. Thank you so much, Ricky. Ricky, baby. Man, I told you that. So that guy's awesome. So really been an interesting experience to be able to meet, to meet people in person, because we spent so much time in the tubes. So it's been an awesome thing. So anyways, that was Ricky, my friends. We've got a bunch of stuff to get to. Let's jump into it. We got Fani Willis business here, and that guy's amazing, right? He's amazing. He's amazing. And so there's I'll show you. He gifted us a wooden something. So we'll go get it, and then we'll pick something out. We'll share it here. He gifted the show a nice wooden thing. He's just a super charitable guy, and we've been talking for a bit since we got here. So it's been fun. All right, so now business to attend to. We're talking Fani Willis, and there's been a big update on the Fani Willis story today. So let's talk about it. Fani Willis got disqualified. It's about time. This means Judge McAfee screwed up, should have disqualified her from the beginning, didn't do that, and now the Court of Appeals is correcting the record. So this came down from the higher level court. We already know that Nathan Wade was disqualified previously. Judge McAfee came back and said, you can basically split this, right? So Fani, you decide. Either you can go, or Nathan Wade can go, or your whole office can go, whatever. She stayed on the case. Nathan Wade was gone. Both sides appealed this, remember. Fani appealed it, saying, I should have never been required to disqualify Nathan Wade. And Trump's side appealed it as well, saying Fani Willis should have been gone a long time ago. And so now the Court of Appeals has granted Trump's request. Here is what the decision says. From the Court of Appeals in Georgia, telling us, Michael Roman, David Schaefer, Robert Shealy, Mark Meadows, Chief of Staff, Trump, of course, Latham, Giuliani, and many others were collectively charged in a 97-page indictment with RICO violations and other crimes. We remember it. We've been covering this case since the very beginning. Now, pursuant to a granted interlocutory application, which means in the middle of the criminal case, they are appealing it, right? So we're not at the conclusion of a case where there has been finality or a guilty verdict or anything. It's in the middle. The appellant's appeal from McAfee's order. This is Judge Scott McAfee's order at the low-level court. We saw him a lot, saying that he denied Trump's motion to dismiss in part, but granted it in part, and booted Nathan Wade off the case. Now, they say there's many reasons why they should reverse this, including that the remedy, which is making Nathan Wade go away, if there is a conflict of interest, if there is a problem with the prosecution that makes it unethical, the only remedy then really would be to stop that prosecution. You can't then fix it in some way to kind of cut off the tumor, so to speak. The whole thing becomes corrupted because they were working together. They were indicting him together, and it was combined, commingled, as it were, into one indictment. So now they say you can't do that. You can't just get rid of one of them and just allow the rest of this to go forward. Here they continue, saying that Willis and the prosecution is encumbered by a significant appearance of impropriety. It's bad, and it's a noxious odor, if you remember. You cannot just base this on mere status alone, but this is conduct, okay? She did something. It's not just the fact that they're in a relationship. It's that she was doing a bunch of stuff in that relationship, indicting him, as we talk about. More than a mere nebulous public interest. Now, in response, Fani has responded, and so Fani says, no, none of that's true, saying you should affirm the trial court's order, including the alternative remedy. Okay, so Fani is saying, actually, let's just keep the status quo and allow her office, along with the whole office, or in the alternative, step aside and refer the case to the prosecuting attorney's counsel for reassignment, or Nathan Wade withdraw from the case. Okay, so that was the original order. Now, she didn't do that, right? If she would have disqualified herself, she would have then had to refer that over to the prosecuting attorney's counsel. Now, to be clear on this, that is going to happen now, theoretically. Okay, she's going to appeal it. Good to see you. She's going to appeal it. And if the Supreme Court affirms this, right, then the next question, the next step would be to pass this over to another counsel for reassignment and then to see if another prosecutor out of Georgia wants to take the case, which I think is likely. Now, importantly, the state has not filed a cross appeal saying that this finding of impropriety should be reversed. So they're not actually arguing that Fani was right. They just want the status quo to be maintained. So what the court is telling us now, whether the evidence presented to the trial court adequately supported under the appropriate standards of review is not before this court. All right. So whether there was a finding of impropriety, that's not what they're deciding. OK, they're saying our issue is different. It's narrower. Instead, we must determine whether the remedy that's fashioned by the trial court for this undisputed finding of, they say, which is a significant appearance of impropriety, what's the remedy? And so for the reasons the Court of Appeal says, we conclude it was and therefore reverse Judge McAfee's denial of the motion to disqualify, meaning Fani is gone. However, we affirm the denial of the motion to dismiss the indictment. Okay, so the criminal charges stay, but the prosecutor's office is gone. And Fani and her whole office has to go. She can't pass this off to somebody else in her office, to some lower level prosecutor, because she was the main person disqualified. Everything stems from that. They give us some procedural background here. They explain to us on January 24th, the chief judge of the Superior Court of Fulton County impaneled a grand jury because Fani wanted to prosecute Trump. At the time, Fani served as a legal advisor to the special grand jury. So she was on the case from the beginning, okay, from the inception. She was there from day one as a legal advisor on the grand jury, which began receiving evidence in June 22. Now, around the same time, Willis hosted and headlined a fundraiser for opposition candidate against Burt Jones in a lieutenant governor race. And then after that, remember, this was a different scandal, but Fani was campaigning for somebody and then saying that somebody else was going to be the target of a grand jury investigation. So she's going to use her office to go prosecute somebody and then campaign for the other guy. The Superior Court that was overseeing the special grand jury proceeding, they disqualified Fani too, and her office from any further criminal investigation based on the fact that there was a real conflict. Okay, the court in that case, Fani's already been disqualified before, not her first rodeo, said that there's concern about Fani's partiality, her naturally, all of this arising from her conduct. An investigation of this significance is touching upon public attention and it's touching political nerves. And so it's causing legitimate doubts about her motives. It's impugning her office. So the Superior Court denied the motion to disqualify filed by the remaining alternate electors because they didn't show an actual conflict. And so McAfee says, well, it's only really as to certain defendants. Its order did not explicitly address the appearance of impropriety. And then the grand jury came out. Now, then let's fast forward. August 14, 2023, just over a year ago, Fani Willis got a RICO indictment. She charged Trump. She charged 10 others. On January 8th, 2024, you remember this, Michael Roman, via Ashley Merchant, that defense attorney from Georgia who beat the pants off the rest of the prosecutors there, filed a motion to dismiss the indictment and to disqualify Fani Willis. She cracked the shell on this whole thing. Her office and Wade from further prosecuting this case on grounds of a conflict and an appearance of impropriety. Michael Roman, via Ashley Merchant, they also alleged that there was a personal relationship between Willis and Wade. They were indicting each other repeatedly, along with an alleged personal financial interest in the case. After Willis spoke publicly at a church session, remember that speech when she went out there and she said, "Why, God? Why? Why are they singling me out? Why are they singling out a black man?" Remember she kept saying that? And we said, well, because you're sleeping with him. You're not sleeping with the other people. That's why. It's not that complicated. On Sunday, January 14th, she went out there and she was saying all that stuff. The other appellants filed a motion to dismiss. So you can't do that. Those are extrajudicial statements. You can't go out there and say that your prosecutor's office is on the side of God. You're empowered by the Holy Spirit, and everybody else is demonic and should be imprisoned. Now, then we got an order from the trial court. We remember this. On March 15, 2024, the trial court entered its order on the motions after conducting multiple day evidentiary hearings. It summarized the issues and its rulings as follows. Here's what the judge says. Now, as alleged, the claims presented a possible financial conflict of interest for the district attorney, and more importantly, the defense motion and the state's response created a conflict of interest that could only be resolved through an evidentiary hearing, and one that could not simply be ignored without endangering the rights of the defendants. So after receiving 2.5 days of testimony, and we went through all of this in real time, watching the testimony, during which the defendants were provided an opportunity to subpoena and introduce whatever relevant material they wanted, the court finds that they failed to meet their burden that Fani had an actual conflict of interest in the case. And that was such a joke when we read that from Scott McAfee. It was clear. We even had Fani Willis's former employees who were there communicating that their relationship started at a judicial conference when they were there studying the law, whatever that was. So the other alleged grounds for disqualification, including forensic misconduct, are also denied, said McAfee. However, the record, remember this little twisty pretzel situation, the established record now highlights a significant appearance of impropriety that infects the current structure of the prosecution team. An appearance that must be removed. And so McAfee just kind of made this whole thing up out of nowhere and just said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to remove one of the two people from the case, and that's going to make everything fine. The district attorney may choose, that's Fani, may choose to step aside, along with her whole office, and refer the prosecution to the prosecuting attorney's counsel, which is probably what's going to end up happening soon, or allow the public to move forward if Nathan Wade withdraws and he can get off the case, and then they'll fix the noxious odor. Court of Appeals has a footnote here for us, saying the transcript reveals that the trial court precluded cross-examination of Willis about matters related to forensic misconduct. And remember, they kept trying to dig into Fani Willis when she was up there on the stand, and were responding to her, and the judge was cutting them off. Well, how about this? And how about objection, objection, objection? Saying the judge didn't allow it, as well as county codes and ordinances. Couldn't talk about those things either. It appears that the trial court limited the evidence in the hearing to the relationship only and any financial elements of it in an off-the-record ruling referenced in the transcript. The record before us contains no authenticated recording or transcript of the church speech, and it was never introduced into evidence at the hearing. And it was definitely discussed, but I'm not sure if they attempted. The appellants do not assert on appeal that the trial court erred by limiting their cross-examination and introduction of evidence in the hearing. So then, on November 1st, a lot of procedural history and backstory here before we get to their ruling. On November 1st, 2021, so we kind of rewind the clock back again to before the church speech, Fani hired Nathan Wade, brought him on as the special assistant district attorney, and he led the investigation that resulted in Trump being indicted. The DA considered at least one other option, Roy Barnes, who declined, and then Roy Barnes, in my understanding, has now been representing both Nathan and Fani. So they considered him when he's like kind of part of the whole group there in their group texts. The contract allowed a $250 an hour rate, a relatively low amount by Metro Atlanta standards for an attorney with all of Wade's years of service, except for RICO cases, except as a felony prosecutor, and contained a ceiling on the maximum number of hours permitted. Now, under the terms of the first contract, Wade was not to perform more than 60 hours of work without written permission. His contract was renewed on November 15th and again on June 12th because Fani wanted more indicting, you know? Now, between October 22nd, 2022 and May 2023, Fani and Wade, they traveled together on 4 occasions that resulted in a documentable set of expenses. The first included a trip in October to Miami and to Aruba, man, a cruise. Man, that's good. Good time off if you can get it. Wade initially covered expenses for the October trip. He said it was $5,000. In December, the two flew to Miami for another cruise, and Fani paid $1,300 for plane tickets, while Wade purchased the passage for the cruise along with other expenses totaling $3,600. Then in March, they went to Belize. Wade covered a resort fee there. So, okay, just to be clear, we got a December date. Oh, wait, hold on. October, December. So October, November, they take off. December, they need a trip. Then they come back. Looks like they take off January, February. Then in March, they go to Belize because they got tired. Then they come back. They take April off. Wade paid for the March trip. They stay home for April. They're like, we got to get some work done. So then in May, they go to Napa Valley. He covered the airfare. So it's like 4 trips in May now. We got 4 trips here in a short time. Then in addition to the two taking they also took a number of day-long road trips to Tennessee. They went to Alabama, they went to South Carolina, they went to North Carolina, other ports of Georgia as well. They also went out dining on multiple occasions, and they so-called took turns covering the bill, if you believe that. With seemingly full access to Wade's primary credit card statements, defendants, Trump & Co., did not produce evidence of any further documentable expenses or gifts, nor were any revealed through the testimony. And I think I disagree with that, with seemingly full access. I don't think so. They probably got those through his wife, who he was cheating on with Fani. Forgot that whole area. Then in total, defendants point to, if you aggregate it all, Nathan Wade was approximately 12 to 15 G's in Fani's favor. Okay, so she pays him money to prosecute a rigged case. Then he takes her on all these trips, drops 12 to 15 G's on it, and she gets the benefit. Nice deal. So then Fani and Wade, they also testified that these expenditures, they were not meant as gifts, so they didn't break any ethical laws at all. They weren't designed to benefit Fani Willis, so how could they be bad? Both of them testified that Fani regularly reimbursed Wade in cash, and if not reimbursed, Fani covered a comparable related expense. For example, Fani came out, she got on the stand, she testified. She said she reimbursed Wade in cash for the Aruba trip, which she said was $2,000. And remember, she said that she had that cash under her mattress or something in her house. Gave him money for both cruises. Okay. She also further claimed that she reimbursed Wade for the entirety of the Belize trip, and she paid for Napa Valley excursions as well. And then Wade could have also bought meals in 2020, which totaled more than $100, but she would also regularly pay for his meals as well. Okay, so it's all just a big, giant, convoluted mess. And it's almost like we're talking past the point. The fact that we even have to go through this little exercise where we're analyzing all these numbers shows there's a problem, shows there's an appearance of impropriety. These two are working together. He's getting paid an exorbitant amount of money, over $700,000 at one point for not a lot of work. And then they're traveling around every other month, new vacation. Now, such a reimbursement practice may be unusual, and the lack of any documentary corroboration is understandably concerning, says the Court of Appeals. Yeah. But the other testimony withstood direct contradiction or was corroborated by other evidence. For example, her payment of airfare for the two on the 2022 Miami trip, it was not so incredible as to be inherently unbelievable. Who are these guys? You could listen to her testimony. You're telling me that there were some judges on here that listened to Fani's testimony and they're like, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that sounds about right. That could be right. We could believe that. Now, however, as Fani herself acknowledged, no ledger exists. She wasn't keeping track of any of this other than a best guesstimate. And remember where she got her cash? We were always asking, like, do you have withdrawal receipts? Can you go to your ATM and show us that you have withdrawals there? No, because she would just attach it to her debit card payment. So she'd go to the grocery store. Would you like cash back? Yeah, I'll take the 40 cash, right? Like that was going to be her modus operandi. and then we would never get to see the actual transactional records because it was all just attached to these small little expenditures. So she said it was just a best guesstimate. Now, despite this, after considering all the surrounding circumstances, the court finds that the evidence did not establish that Fani's receipt of a material financial benefit as a result of her decision to hire him, it was not established, which is hilarious. Simply put, they have not presented sufficient evidence indicating that the expenses were not roughly divided evenly. So we're just going to take lying Fani's word for it. She says they were like split more or less. They say, well, whatever. And Fani currently remains, or that she remains greatly or pecuniarily interested, meaning she's not financially interested in this prosecution. So that doesn't satisfy the prong for disqualification. If that's not enough, then what is? Now, in addition, and much more important, the court finds that based largely on Fani's testimony, that the evidence demonstrated that the financial gain flowing from her relationship with Wade was not a motivating factor on the part of Fani to indict and prosecute this case. And you might argue, if you want to give her the benefit of the doubt on that she hates Trump either way, right? Like, she would have indicted him regardless of Nathan Wade. She was basically recruited for this job. Bring criminal charges against Trump. We don't care what it is. And remember, Newt Gingrich, I think, also had that video clip where he was telling us that the indictment that came down out of Georgia happened very rapidly. In other words, somebody got a phone call and says, indict him tomorrow. Tomorrow you have to indict him. And she was up way late, remember? And the first indictment from Fani was all haphazard. It was like there was a mistake in the first one. There was a superseding indictment. There was all sorts of stuff that happened very quickly because in our read, she was getting pressure from other people to bring the indictment. So she may have done that and prosecuted him regardless of Nathan Wade. But she definitely did enjoy a financial benefit. I don't know if she hired him specifically to go on cruises, for example, but she did, and she enjoyed it. Now, while a general motive for more income can never be disregarded entirely, Fani was not financially destitute throughout this time. So what? Rich people steal all the time. As she testified that her salary exceeds 200 grand per year. So what? So she doesn't need any more money? She drinks Grey Goose, okay? She goes on trips every month, every other month. So she wants the money. Similarly, the court further finds that Trump and co. have failed to demonstrate that Fani's conduct has impacted or influenced the case to the defendant's detriment, which I totally disagree with. I mean, if she didn't bring this case, Nathan doesn't get to bill hourly for multiple years. His fees that he collects are gone. Or if he starts investigating this and she does not move forward or dismisses it or doesn't improve the indictment, he's done. She has no sugar daddy with a bunch of money to go on cruises. So the fact that she was enjoying it and that the case was moving forward means that you can't end one without ending the other. And that's where the conflict comes into play. If the prosecution dies, her sugar daddy money also dies. He can't bill the government for that fund anymore. Now, while prejudice is not a required element for disqualification, it is relevant to considerations of due process and Trump's remedy of complete dismissal. Now, the defendants, Trump and co., they argue that the financial arrangement created an incentive to prolong the case, as we just mentioned. But in fact, there's no indication that she had any interest in delaying anything. Indeed, the record is quite the contrary. Before the relationship came to light, they requested a trial begin very quickly. Soon thereafter, the state opposed severing certain people, and they argued that they wanted to try the case with everybody together. And so they were working hard to bring this case to trial. And so she has not shown that she's trying to enrich herself by prolonging the case. And really, there are two things can be true at the same time. If she ends the case, Nathan Wade stops getting paid. If she takes the case to trial, he's going to bill for trial prep, which is going to be a lot. And then probably I don't know if there's an additional billable hour for trial, but he's going to be in trial for weeks. So she's going to make a ton of money and a ton of benefits off Nathan Wade if they're in trial. So the fact that they're rushing to trial is not dispositive there. And by the way, there are political benefits as well, not just financial benefits. She gets Trump convicted. Now she just got Trump convicted. That's a political benefit, which is why she valued that at more than the financial benefit. She wanted to race the case to trial because they were trying to deviate the election. Now, without sufficient evidence that that Fani acquired a personal stake or that her financial arrangements had any impact on the case, their claim of an actual conflict must be denied. This finding is by no means an indication that the court condones this tremendous lapse in judgment or the unprofessional manner of her testimony during the evidentiary hearing. Rather, it's our opinion that Georgia law does not permit the finding of an actual conflict for simply making bad choices. What? Even repeatedly, it is the trial court's duty to confine itself to the relevant issues. Okay, this is what McAfee wrote. Yeah. Right, now then it says, the trial court also found insufficient evidence of an actual conflict, right? So the reason I was so irritated again, because that was McAfee writing. Now, the record made at the evidentiary hearing, says McAfee, established that Fani's prosecution is encumbered by an appearance of impropriety, nebulous public interest. The initial contract was so close to supervising and paying for Wade while they were in a relationship. Fani allowed the regular and loose exchange of money between them without any exact or verifiable measure of reconciliation at all. The lack of a confirmed financial split creates the possibility and the appearance that Fani benefited from a contract that she controls. Now, the Judge McAfee said, most importantly, were the case to proceed unchanged, the same concerns would exist. As Fani testified, her relationship with Wade has only cemented now, okay? They're stronger than ever. They're like, we're under attack, baby. We're going to survive this together, love. Wade's patently unpersuasive explanation for the inaccurate interrogatories he submitted during his pending divorce indicates that he is willing to conceal wrongly his relationship with Fani. And as the case moves forward, McAfee said, reasonable members of the public could easily be left to wonder whether the financial exchanges have continued and whether they're still indicting each other. And so that was what the judge said. He also, if you remember, said, there is an odor of mendacity that remains, a big, stinky, noxious odor from Fani. The court is not under an obligation to ferret out every instance of potential dishonesty that's ever presented in open court, but there are reasonable questions about whether Fani and her hand-selected DA testified untruthfully, they did, about the timing of their relationship and further underpin the finding of an appearance of impropriety and the need to make proportional efforts to cure it. And so then they rejected the dismissal of the indictment, and the judge said the case stays on. Only if Nathan Wade withdraws, then everything else can move forward. So here's what the Court of Appeals says. All right, now, the appellants contend that McAfee and his failure to disqualify Willis and her office was erroneous. They say, sorry, Judge, you already found that there is a significant appearance of impropriety. Judge McAfee, you said it. And so in our view, the trial court's remedy in that doesn't actually cure anything. And the fact that Nathan Wade is gone doesn't cure an odor of mendacity because Fani has the odor. Nathan was also odorous, no doubt, noxious. But Fani is a source of the odor. So you got to get rid of the source found by the trial court. Based upon fact findings in its order, there was, and the state's failure to cross appeal their finding, right? Okay, McAfee said there was a significant appearance of impropriety. Court of Appeals agrees with Trump, agrees with the defense. They say, as our consideration of the appearance of impropriety is limited to the remedy fashioned by McAfee, McAfee got rid of Nathan Wade or required Fani to go and reassign this case to other prosecutors' counsel, we now are going to analyze Georgia law, says the Court of Appeals. Now, while the parties advocate for diametrically opposed bright rules, and remember, Georgia law was not very clear on a lot of this stuff because no prosecutor had ever been as corrupt as Fani. Holy crap, she did what? With a what? In a how? Where? How many times? That's a big problem. So now they're establishing new case law. Trump's defense says there should be a pretty clear rule on this. When there's an appearance of impropriety, that satisfies the standard. Fani's got to go. The other side says that is not the rule and that disqualification should be much looser. Saying disqualification of her office can never result, they say, for an appearance of impropriety, or disqualification should always result when she engages in an appearance of impropriety. Now, Georgia law requires neither of those, says the court, so you're both wrong. Instead, we're going to examine the particular facts, and we're going to keep some general principles in mind here. First, the trial court's ruling on a motion to disqualify, which is coming from McAfee, is being reviewed for an abuse of discretion. So, the question is, was McAfee's order so bad that you can say he abused his discretion? Second, the issue is, what is disqualification and can it be viewed as a continuum? Now, we ask ourselves about this rule from this case called Battle versus State. And so here we must address the remedy in the context of this, a significant appearance of impropriety, one that's caused by a Fani, a public prosecutor. And public prosecutors, they take oaths, they get badges, they walk around, they think they're better than everybody. I'm a prosecutor, I put bad guys in jail. Okay, whatever. Yeah, all right. That urinating in public college kid, way to clean up the streets. Great job. So you're a hero, and I know. That's how they act. And if they're going to act like that, they should have higher standards as well and adhere to those own standards, not lie and commit perjury in court, abscond with hundreds of thousands of dollars of public money, and cover it up in the aftermath. So they write here, in our criminal justice system, the district attorney represents the people and convicts people of bad crimes. They're different than the usual advocate, okay? There is a special duty for them. They have powers of the government. They shouldn't act like maniacs. Therefore, the district attorney is more than an advocate, okay? She's a very powerful person. And so she should be acting above the fray. She should never drop below that line ever. Now, these considerations take this case out of the continuum of cases. And so after carefully considering Judge McAfee's findings, the Court of Appeals out of Georgia says, we conclude that Judge McAfee failed and made a mistake when they did not disqualify Fani Willis and her office. And the remedy that he crafted to try to split this, to split the baby, to say Nathan Wade can go, but Fani Willis can stay, it did nothing at all to address the appearance of impropriety that existed at times when Fani was exercising her prosecutorial duties. There it is. The trial court made a mistake, and a big mistake. And he did it, in my opinion, because he was running for re-election. And Fani Willis, for whatever reason, is very popular in Fulton County, and he would have been hit over the head with a racist white guy hammer and just couldn't take it. So he buckled because of the politics. And now the Court of Appeals is correcting the record. We were wondering when something was going to happen there in Fulton County because it has been stinky there for a while. Now, while we recognize an appearance of impropriety generally is not enough to support disqualification, this is a rare case where disqualification is mandated and no other remedy will suffice to restore public confidence in the integrity of these proceedings. Saying, accordingly, we reverse Judge McAfee's denial of the motion to disqualify. Now, as we conclude that the elected DA is wholly disqualified from this case, the assistant DAs, whose only power is derived from Fani, okay, she's constitutionally elected, she has the constitutional authority to run the office. If she's gone, The whole office is gone. Everybody beneath her has no authority to proceed by Fulton County. The appellants contend that the trial court erred in denying their motions to dismiss as well. But the state says, no, you haven't shown that all of the people's due process rights have been violated. And in the absence of express statutory authorization, dismissal of an indictment is very rare. Now, while this is a rare case, as the Court of Appeals, in which Fani and her whole office must be disqualified, we cannot conclude that it also supports a dismissal of the indictment. And so the question, of course, is going to be what happens next. The case can stay on, but it has no prosecutor, right? There's nobody prosecuting this case. The appellants and their remaining enumerations are rendered moot because we've already made our decisions in 1 and 2. And there is a dissent here. Judge Land says, I'm troubled by the fact that the majority has taken what has been discretionary for the trial court and converted it into something else entirely. Saying our role as judges is important. Here, the trial court found that they failed. So basically, he's saying you should just find what McAfee found and that he didn't meet the standard. Remember, previously, we said the standard was about abuse of discretion. Did Judge McAfee abuse his discretion? He did. He should have disqualified her, didn't do it. He's saying, no, he didn't. We should say that he just made a finding and give him the benefit of the doubt. Here, McAfee expressly found that they failed to show that she had an actual conflict, failed to show a bunch of stuff. They even reiterated it here. And here, if it's not an actual conflict for 43 years, we've said that that is the rule. And so he says no, but the fact is the Court of Appeals has now disqualified Fani Willis from this case. And that is a tremendous victory for President Trump because this was one of the final remaining cases that exists. Of course, we have the Florida classified documents case. That was dismissed by Judge Eileen Cannon because Jack Smith's not a real boy. The January 6th case in D.C. was dismissed voluntarily by Jack Smith because he wants to start writing his report and get out of Dodge before Trump comes into office and then opens up the entire Pandora's box of the stuff that they've been trying to bury. The Alvin Bragg prosecution is still moving forward. We've got one final off-ramp for Judge Mercan. He could dismiss the case or stay the case or terminate the case based on the Presidential Transition Act, and so we'll keep our eye on that one. But this is now a big dismissal, and Fani is not getting a hint. She is already appealing this thing. You can see Law and Crime got the new notice of appeal from her. They say on Thursday morning, Fani Willis was removed from the case and she's already filing and notifying the Court of Appeal, meaning she'll want to take this up to the Supreme Court of Georgia. They wrote in their notice of appeal, they said, you are hereby notified that it is the intention of the state of Georgia appellee to petition the Supreme Court of Georgia for a writ of certiorari to review Division 2 in favor of the above filed cases and Fani's disqualification. Now, Trump and his 18 co-defendants have gotten her removed. They, of course, have already disqualified her. And so the notice of appeal is a very short filing, right? It's just like a notice, a paragraph. You file that notice just to lodge your appeal, and then you come back and you file a more thorough appellate memorandum later down the pike. But more reaction here. Trump's defense attorney, Steve Sadow, responding to Fani Willis being disqualified. Here's what he said. He says, my statement as lead counsel for Trump is as follows. The Georgia Court of Appeals, in a well-reasoned and just decision, has held that DA Fani Willis and her misconduct in the case against Trump requires the disqualification of Willis and her office, saying the court highlighted that Willis and her misconduct created an odor of mendacity and an appearance of impropriety that could only be cured by the disqualification of her and her entire office. As the court rightfully noted, only the remedy of disqualification will suffice to restore public confidence. This decision puts an end to a politically motivated persecution of the next president of the United States. And so a great statement there from Trump's defense attorney, Steve Sadow. We've also got Alina, Habba in the House, and she is saying in response to this, the Georgia Court of Appeals just delivered a huge win for justice by removing Fani from the Trump case. Lawfare is nothing more than corruption in disguise today, and it crumbled. Fairness in the rule of law will always prevail, and good riddance to Fani. Bye, Big Fani. She's out of here. So here are some of the highlights. Remember Big Fani Willis? This is some of what she sounded like. Not much more, though.
While they over there running their mouth, I'm over here paying them no mind. See, I'm so tired of hearing these idiots call my name as Fani.
It is Fani.
In a way to attempt to humiliate me. Because like silly schoolboys, the name reminds them of a woman's rear.
All right, so Big Fani's out of town now. She's going to head out. We've also got more reaction from CNN. Here's what CNN said in the aftermath of this ruling. They're not happy about it.
We begin this hour with breaking news just into CNN. The Georgia prosecutor leading the state's election interference case against President-elect Donald Trump is now disqualified. CNN's Caitlin Polance is here with more. Caitlin, what can you tell us about this? This is just coming in the last several minutes. This is a big development.
A big development, and a big development that Donald Trump has wanted for a long time. That case against him in Georgia, the criminal case, where it's accusing him and several others of a racketeering conspiracy related to the 2020 election, it's already been paused. Now, it's not even backburnered. This is a case that will be dead in the water because the Georgia Court of Appeals is now saying that Fani Willis, the leader of the prosecution against Donald Trump, the district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia, she should be disqualified from being able to bring that case. The Georgia Court of Appeals is saying that it's a significant appearance of impropriety caused by the conduct of a public prosecutor. That is Willis, how she behaved, how she was speaking about the case, about Trump publicly, about how she was having a relationship with the top prosecutor that was concealed in this, a man named Nathan Wade. All of that, previously, the trial level judge had looked at and said, Fani Willis can stay on this case. We're not dismissing the indictment. But the Court of Appeals is now taking another look and saying, no, the trial judge was wrong. Fani Willis should be disqualified from continuing to lead this case. It would be a long process, or it will be a long process, to replace her, which is why I say this case is dead in the water now without Fani Willis, the person who was leading this case against Donald Trump in Fulton County. And just to keep tabs on how many cases there are against Donald Trump criminally, the other two in federal court, January 6th, and classified documents, those are dismissed.
Yep.
And then the additional case in New York City, where he was set to be sentenced, that sentencing is now not happening. So as Donald Trump enters the presidency, each of these courts that is handling a criminal case is essentially removing that issue from him to have to deal with in any period of time in the near future.
Yep. 0 for 4 is what it's looking like. The sentencing in New York is now shifted into an evidentiary hearing, and we've also got an outstanding motion to dismiss that is pending with President Trump based on the transition and the fact that he just got elected to be the president again. And so 4 for 4 victories is what it's looking like. Of course, Judge Merchan can still keep things squirrely because he could come back and deny the motion to dismiss based on the transition. He could come back and after the evidentiary hearing, reschedule it for a sentencing. We'll see if he does that. But as it stands now, this case looks like it's dead on the docket. Anna Bauer posted this, says Georgia Now, What Happens Next, has a nonpartisan agency called the Prosecuting Attorneys Council. The director there is called Pete Skandalakis. He's going to decide on how to proceed. So we're keeping all eyes on Pete. He can appoint a different DA or special prosecutor to take over, or he could decline to move forward with the case altogether, which I got to imagine is what happens. Nobody's going to want to inherit the case file from Nathan Wade and Fani Willis. Could you imagine that case file? They're like, here's the box. Like, where'd that box come from? Did that come from Fanny's house? We don't need it. Just can you scan it and email it to us? All right, just send us the digital files. We don't need the box. So we're going to keep our eye on this one. Tremendous day for President Trump. Big victory. Fanny's taking it up to the Supreme Court in Georgia. We'll see what they do there. My friends, we'll stay on this one and all of the other prosecutions. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, my friends. So that was a good update on Fani Willis. We got Luigi, Mangione coming up. We got a little Elon talk coming up. Wanted to pause, make sure we're coming in loud and clear. It's great to see everybody. Here's a little conference scene out there. Had some great people come by, watching the show out here. It's good. It's great to see everybody. If you're here, if you're at AmFest, you can join in on the Watcher Fam AmFest chat. Go to watcherlodge.com, and there is a chat happening there. And you can also, if you're not a member, if you want to see a behind-the-scenes video that we posted, you can check that out at watcherlodge.com. Yesterday, after the live stream here, I was walking around for about 20 minutes showing you everything that's going on here. So if you want to check that out, watcherlodge.com is where the video is. It's free. You can just go check it out. So we got more coming up. Now we're going to be talking about Luigi Mangione, who is now indicted by the feds. And so here is this story. Luigi Mangione now indicted again. This time the feds are filing the charges. Coming out of the Southern District of New York, we do have the full indictment here along with the perp walk, because boy, oh boy, was it a show there in New York today. We're going to go through, see what happened in Pennsylvania, see what the extradition looked like and what these new charges look like from the feds, because remember, he's facing multiple charges now. He's in Pennsylvania with the gun charges. He's got the lower level Alvin Bragg Manhattan murder and terrorism charges. And now he's facing a new set of charges from the feds. So it's like the feds are stepping in here, maybe trying to take some of this away from Alvin. Maybe they don't trust Alvin with his terrorism prosecution. Is Alvin going to default and hand the case over to the feds and slow his prosecution like he did with Trump? Remember, he defaulted originally, Merchan, to delaying the Trump prosecution so that the January 6th prosecution could happen in DC until that went up on appeal. Then they accelerated the New York prosecution to prosecute Trump. So now that the feds are involved, is Bragg going to follow the same template? Is he going to say, how about we just let the feds handle it? Here's the perp walk from Luigi.
A federal murder through use of a firearm, a firearms offense as well for using a silencer and muffler in the alleged murder, as well as 2 stalking charges as well. His newly retained attorney, Karen Agnifilo, suggested that federal charges in this case would be overkill. I just want to note, you see New York City Mayor Eric Adams not far behind Mangione there. Again, a very large law enforcement presence. This was an incident that sparked worldwide attention as Mangione was able to get away soon after the murder, clearly in what was a calculated move, as well as investigators finding key details in the search for him. That book bag in Central Park full of Monopoly money, one interesting detail. I believe Bryn Gingras is still a counterfeit.
That's a lot of people. Even the mayor, I mean, look at all those people. It's like 50 dudes there. Multiple SWAT teams there. That guy has a bag of McDonald's or hamburgers or something. It's probably his personal belongings, but, you know, they're walking him through like he's a terrorist, like they just captured Osama bin Laden or something. My goodness. All right, so that's the perp walk, and they're making a lot out of this, and I think they're doing it for political purposes, to be quite frank with you. Obviously, it's a political case. It is turned into a terrorism case based on the fact that this guy wrote depose, deny, delay on the bullets, making a public statement. Healthcare CEOs are freaked out all over the place. Lefties like Taylor Lorenz are filled with joy and excitement now that CEOs are getting shot in the back. So it's a political case, and everyone's going to take advantage of it politically. And New York needs a win. Okay, New York really does, because they've gotten a lot of bad press due to their own incompetence. But Trump is looking like he's probably going to win that Tish James case where she tried to steal $500 million, half a bill from him. And when she loses that, that's going to be the AG's office getting backhanded by the Court of Appeals. We had Alvin Bragg just got embarrassed by bringing an insane case against Daniel Penny that never should have been brought. He just lost that one. And with Merchan, they vacated the Trump sentencing. So he's like 0 for 3 over there. They're all on the ropes. They're having a difficult time. So now they have this case, which should be open and shut, just as, you know, cut and dry as can be, because they had a backpack filled with all of the evidence. They're going to extract maximum value out of this. Even the mayor's showing up, for crying out loud. while they were walking down this street, 3 other people got shot in the back on New York. I mean, that's how bad it is. So here is more on the indictment. Now, before we get to the indictment, here's some backstory on the extradition, because he has now been transported from Pennsylvania back into New York. NBC News tells us Mangione got indicted, waived his right to an extradition hearing because you lose those anyways. We saw, remember, there was a lot of noise about Kyle Rittenhouse and extradition, and he was going to fight, and then he never did, and then, of course, got transported immediately. So he was flown from Pennsylvania to New York Thursday afternoon, now facing federal charges. Mangione had appeared Thursday morning in Blair County, Pennsylvania, for a preliminary hearing where he waived extradition and was subsequently taken into custody of the New York City Police Department, flown to New York, where he landed shortly after noon. The suspect was also hit with new federal charges. We'll look at the indictment very soon. 2 counts of stalking, murder through the use of firearm, and a firearms offense, but not terrorism. Mangione now faces federal charges. Thompson was shot on December 4th, and so let's hit the indictment now. This is what it looked like from an artist rendering in court. There's Mangione taking a look at the court papers. After the hearing, he was dressed in an orange jumpsuit, ushered out of the courthouse, placed in the black SUV, and then scooted out of there. Around 10:40 a.m., the motorcade from the New York City Police and Pennsylvania State Police loaded him on an airplane, took off 10 minutes later, and then he arrived. There were supporters outside the courthouse early on Thursday morning, some of them carrying signs that said, quote, "Free Luigi, free Luigi," they're out there. But the murder indictment is now here, and let's take a look at what is inside. The federal indictment of Luigi Nicholas Mangione, now unsealed, originally sealed, coming out of the Southern District of New York. You see, we've got Special Agent Gary W. Cobb telling us that the FBI has conducted their investigation, and now Luigi is being charged with the following counts out of the Southern District of New York, saying, count 1, stalking and traveling in interstate commerce. Okay, so following this guy, knowing where the CEO was going to be, knowing where he was speaking, what hotel he was staying at, and what his schedule is, showing up and shooting him in the back on that day. From at least in or about November 24th to in or about December 4th, so for about those 10 days, in SDNY and elsewhere, Luigi traveled in interstate commerce, was stalking this guy with the intent to kill, to injure, to harass, or to place him under surveillance so that he could kill, and then allegedly did that. Then traveled there from Georgia to New York for the very purpose of stalking and eliminating Brian Thompson. And while he was in New York, he did do the thing. He shot and eliminated him at that location. Count 1. Count 2 also shows us stalking, using interstate facilities in order to do it. So one is traveling in commerce, the other is using facilities to get it done. What did he do? He used electronic communication systems, an electronic communication system service, and facilities of interstate commerce. What were those things? He used a cell phone, he used interstate wires, he used interstate highways, and he used the internet to plan and to eliminate the CEO. Now, on or about December 4th, we get count 3. This is the actual murder charge using the firearm. On December 4th, during and in relation to crimes of violence for which he may be prosecuted, the stalking offenses, he knowingly and in furtherance of a crime possessed a firearm and in the course of the crime caused the death of another using the firearm. That is called murder. Count 3. Count 4 is a firearm offense, saying that he knowingly used and carried a firearm in furtherance of a crime. That was a firearm. It was brandished. It was a firearm with a silencer and a muffler on there. And firearm muffler is what they say. And so the FBI tells us this is the detail, this is the affidavit that supports that series of criminal charges. So those are the charges. Here's the explanation. Says, I'm a special agent for the FBI, and I'm assigned to the FBI Violent Crimes Task Force. I have been personally involved in the investigation of this matter. This affidavit is based upon my conversations with other law enforcement officers, my examination of documents obtained through a court-authorized search warrant, my review of documents prepared by others, security camera video, and my involvement in this investigation. Now, because this affidavit is being submitted for the limited purpose of establishing probable cause, it does not include all the facts that I've learned during the course of my investigation. And so there will be more to come, no doubt. This is only to get us past that initial filing. Now, based on my participation and in my investigation, my conversations with other law enforcement officers, my review of documents, and more, I've learned the following things. Special agent of the FBI says, on December 4th, 2024 at 6:45 a.m., Brian Thompson, CEO of healthcare company One, was shot and killed by a masked assailant called the shooter while walking toward a hotel in Midtown Manhattan, where company One investor was at a conference that was scheduled to begin at 8 a.m. Now, as discussed below, the shooter was later identified to be Luigi Nicholas Mangione, the defendant. How did we identify him? Well, security camera video showed the shooter, who was wearing a gray backpack called the Gray Backpack, came from between two parked cars, walked up behind the victim, shoot the victim in the leg, and back outside the hotel entrance. The firearm the shooter used appeared to have a sound suppressing device or a silencer, and here's a still image that was captured that's provided below. And we were paying close attention to this because these the photos don't match the backpack and the jacket. That is one photo that we've seen many times. Now, law enforcement personnel who responded to the scene of the shooting recovered, among other items, spent 9mm shell casings, at least one round of live 9mm ammunition. The words "deny, delay, and depose" were written on the side of some of them. Responding law enforcement personnel also recovered a cell phone in the vicinity where the shooting had occurred. So a couple bullets that were spent and more that were not. One that was not. Now, based on my participation in this investigation, the FBI says, my conversations with other law enforcement officers, my examination of the documents, a court-authorized search warrant, my review of the documents, my review of the security camera footage, I know that over the course of the next several days, investigators retrieved and reviewed hundreds of hours of recordings from nearby security cameras to track the shooter's movements both before and after the murder. And from that review, investigators were able to form the following timeline of the shooter's movements from November 24th, including up to December 4th. Here is the timeline. On November 24th at 10:11 p.m., the shooter arrived in New York City on a bus, got there into Manhattan. The bus came from Atlanta, Georgia, Fani land. The shooter took a taxi to the area around the Midtown Hotel, stayed for an hour, took another taxi to a hostel located in Upper West Side of Manhattan. The shooter then registered at the hostel under the name Mark Rosario, gave him a fake ID that looked like the following. Mark Rosario, looks like it's his actual photo, and a pretty good fake. When the shooter was checking in at the hostel, the desk clerk asked the shooter to remove his mask, which he did, revealing his face to the security camera as shown below. And from those photos, that woman at McDonald's identified the guy. Incredible. Other than this interaction with the desk clerk, the shooter consistently kept his mask on throughout his time in New York, including while at the hostel. And of course, that backpack is not gray looking at all. And that jacket has two pockets right in the front of it. So he has a separate jacket when he does the shooting, and he's got a separate backpack when he does the shooting. Let's see if they account for those. Now on this, because that is not a gray backpack. That is a black jacket, black backpack backstrap. On December 4th at approximately 5:35 a.m., the shooter left the hostel wearing the gray backpack and rode an electric bicycle down Central Park to the hotel as shown below. Walking down, got that backpack on, which definitely looks gray. Must have changed his jacket as well. At approximately 5:41 a.m., the shooter walked around the area of Midtown Hotel and at one point purchased items for the coffee shop nearby. The shooter then returned to a bench in the vicinity of the hotel. On at least one occasion prior to the murder, the shooter was using a cell phone. At 6:45 a.m., after waiting near the Midtown Hotel for 1 hour, the shooter saw and approached the victim. shot the victim multiple times, then fled on foot to West 55th Street, where the shooter mounted the electric bicycle and rode back again towards Central Park. After disappearing inside the park for a period of time, the shooter was captured on video again, exiting the park near West 77th Street and Central Park West, riding north on Central Park West. When he emerged from the park, the shooter was no longer carrying the gray backpack, as is shown below. Okay, so there he has the backpack on. Now he ditches the backpack. At 6:58, the security camera captured the shooter riding an electric bike near West 85th and Columbus. 2 minutes later, at 7 a.m., the shooter was captured on video, walking near West 86th Street without the electric bicycle. Then at 7:04, the shooter entered a taxi that drove him to the George Washington bus terminal up to Upper Manhattan, and his face was captured at this time in the taxi. There you go. Looks right at the camera for you. At approximately 7:30 a.m., video footage from the George Washington bus terminal captured the shooter entering the facility. No video footage showed the shooter leaving the bus terminal, suggesting that the shooter left New York City at that time. Then on December 6, law enforcement searched Central Park. They found a matching gray backpack that he wore on the day of the shooting, which that looks like it matches the shooting backpack for sure, as we saw before. Then we see the arrest took place. Based on my participation, the FBI special agent says, and based on my conversations with other law enforcement officers, my examination of the documents, among other things, I know the following. On December 9th at 9:14 a.m., a worker at a fast food restaurant in Pennsylvania called the police about a male customer, later identified as Mangione. Incredible. The defendant, who the worker believed resembled photos of the shooter that had been broadcast all over the place. Members of the police showed up, responded. They encountered Mangione. They also thought, oh yeah, that's definitely the dude. When approached by responding officers and asked for identification, Mangione gave them his fake ID. He was later found to be in possession of a loaded 9mm pistol and a silencer, all consistent with the weapon that was used to eliminate the CEO. He also had clothing that matched the apparel that the shooter wore in the security camera videos, okay? So that jacket without the pockets, he had it. A notebook, the notebook, he had several thousands of dollars in cash. He had an envelope associated with an FDIC-insured bank and a letter addressed to the feds. He wrote a letter to the feds. The 9mm pistol and silencer were later tested. They were later found to be operable by the ballistics examiner from the New York City Police Department. Photographs of the firearm and the silencer recovered from Mangione are depicted below. What's happening here? We got some serious activity right out front here, my folks, my friends. Check this out real quick. You can see lots of people here. I don't know if something's happening, if somebody's coming or something, but we're going to keep going. The 9mm pistol and the silencer were later tested and found to be operable by the ballistics examiner. And here are photographs of what they've recovered below. So apparently that's the 3D printed firearm with the Glock magazine there. And he's also got some other stuff. That is going to be the silencer suppressor. And maybe he had some ammo in this little pack here. Don't know what he was doing, but that's what they've got. The notebook contained several hundred handwritten pages that express hostility towards the insurance industry and wealthy executives in particular, which is curious because he comes from a pretty wealthy family. For example, the notebook contained the following statements and entries that appear to correspond to particular dates. In one entry marked on 8/15, the notebook described how the details are finally coming together. I'm glad in a way that I've procrastinated because it allowed me to learn more about the acronym for Company One. The notebook entry also stated that the target is insurance because insurance, it checks every box. In another entry marked 10/22, October 22nd this year, the notebook said 1.5 months. This investor conference is a true windfall. And most importantly, the message becomes self-evident. Later on in the entry, the notebook describes an intent to whack the CEO of one of the insurance companies at its investors conference. As described above, October 22nd, It was 6 weeks before the date of the murder, which occurred on the date of United's investor conference. Now, the Fed's letter that was recovered from Mangione also stated, I wasn't working with anyone. This was fairly trivial. Some elementary social engineering, basic computer-aided design, a lot of patience. Based on my own research, I believe that CAD refers to computer-aided design. The Fed's letter also stated, P.S. You can check the serial numbers to verify this is all self-funded. These are funded off my own ATM withdrawals. So based on the above and a review of my photographs of the shooter and my review of the arrests, I respectfully submit that Mangione is the shooter who shot and killed the victim on December 4th. And additionally, the notebook entries, the Fed letter, the shooter's surveillance, and the shooter's use of counter surveillance techniques and his escape all suggest that he took extensive efforts to identify the victim, to place the victim under surveillance, and track the victim's whereabouts in the time period leading up to the murder. Now, below are surveillance stills of the shooter and an arrest photograph of Mangione. And, okay, so, all right, so, again, this is not a photograph of the shooter, right? This is a photograph of a person standing in a hostel. So we're asking also about the connection out of the hostel and to the scene. And I do think we have some of that. He registered there. He was checking in. He had an interaction. He left the hostel. The shooter left the hostel. And they're saying that was him, right? That was Mangione who left there. And then the shooter, that person is Mangione, according to this document. So they're wrapping this up. They say, these are the surveillance stills. Here's the shooter inside the taxi. But somebody else could have left that hostel, right? And in other words, you could skip over this photo, this set of photos. Somebody else could have left the hostel. This entire set of photos could be Mangione, no doubt about it. And he may have traveled around and done all the things, but we still got to make the connection that that is the shooter. All right, so that's the indictment. And what's interesting is that they're filing this right over top of Alvin Bragg's indictment. So in New York, of course, they've already indicted him for murder and terrorism. The feds are not indicting him for terrorism or anything like that. Part of this leads me to believe that they're nervous that maybe Alvin Bragg is going to botch this case, and they don't want this guy to get away with anything. And so the indictment is now out, and Mangione is in custody. His attorney is named Karen Friedman Agnifilo. She's one of the attorneys representing him, said that they are ready to fight these charges in whatever court that they're brought in. So the fight continues. She said the federal government's reported decision to pile on top of an already overcharged first-degree murder and state terror case is highly unusual, raises serious constitutional and statutory double jeopardy concerns. Right, and so who is going to bend? Is Alvin Bragg going to default and defer this over to the federal government? This is kind of his big case. They just brought the mayor out. They were walking him down the street like this was a big Osama bin Laden get. Thanks to somebody calling in from McDonald's, they caught the guy. So here's the final report on what's happening over with Mangione.
Earlier today with his attorney for two hearings. One was on the firearm and forgery charges, the other on his extradition. His lawyer spoke after the hearing and said they are preparing for the next phase of this case.
Everything we did today was in his best interest. We're ready now to defend, move forward and start defending these charges in New York and Pennsylvania.
NBC News correspondent Rahim Ellis joins us now with the latest. So Rahim, walk us through what we know at this point and the timeline for how things are expected to proceed here in New York.
Yeah, it has been a busy morning. As you point out, it was about an hour-and-a-half flight from Pennsylvania to Long Island, New York. We expect that he will chopper from Long Island to the Wall Street heliport, which is just a short distance from where I'm standing. From there, we are told that he's going to be taken to a courthouse, federal court, just as around the corner from here, and he's going to face federal charges. We have not yet been told exactly what those federal charges are. But early reporting had indicated if he is accused of a crime
So we know what the charges are now, but here's some more footage
conviction on the
of the
federal level
extradition.
could carry a death penalty for him. What we do know in terms of the charges on the state level, the New York Manhattan District Attorney is going to eventually file charges in the courthouse behind me on this 11-count indictment, including murder in the first degree, and another count in the indictment that includes in furtherance of terrorism. And that essentially is that he is saying that Mangione intended to invoke terror. Some are saying that this could be problematic because it's a very unusual application of a law that was allowed after 9/11. The question becomes one now of, once he faces charges in the federal court just around the corner from where I'm standing, at what point will he be brought to the Manhattan District Court? It could happen later today.
Because Alvin Bragg has to prosecute his case too. And now we've got all these competing cases that are stepping over each other to try to get this guy. And so is Bragg going to buckle and hand this to the feds? We'll see. We're going to be here continuing to cover this one, my friends. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. All right. And now we've got one final update on the day, short update on the day. But look who just popped in on the chat, man, right here, the lectern guy. So you saw me in that last segment, fist bump that person. That was him. That was Adam Johnson. He just walked by. So he just happened to show up in our on our post. What's up, lectern guy? We're going to hang out with him tomorrow or Saturday or both. So what's up, Rand? Okay, so let's talk about this. Elon Musk for Speaker of the House, not a crazy idea. He's fixed a lot of other things. Why not the federal government? Rand Paul says, you know, the Speaker of the House need not be a member of Congress. Nothing would disrupt the swamp more than electing Elon Musk. Think about it. Nothing's impossible. Not to mention the joy at seeing the collective establishment, aka the Uniparty, lose their ever-loving minds. It would be amazing. And I don't know if you've seen it, but out there today, there's been a lot of this type of stuff. Like Dan Goldman, okay? You know him, the guy who bought his Congress seat because he inherited money from the Levi Strauss family. He says, as the shadow president-elect, you know, Elon is basically calling the shot for House Republicans on government funding. Which we're like, okay, that's fine. Okay, that's much better than the other Republicans doing it. It increasingly seems like we're in for 4 years of an unelected oligarch running the country by pulling on his puppet strings, as though Joe Biden was actually in charge of the country at all. His party lied to us for 4 years about his competency. Who was pulling Joe's puppet strings as the head of the presidency? Who knows? But the point is, if they are going to be saying Elon is basically controlling everything, why don't we just make that happen? Let's just make it official. He can just control everything. Put him in charge of the House of Representatives. Doesn't need to be an elected figure. In fact, that's how you'll get them to actually do something, is if they're not being run by an elected figure. And Rand Paul was explaining why this is necessary, saying yesterday the Senate voted to blow a hole in the Social Security Trust Fund, excluding benefits by $200 billion without any expanding benefits, not excluding, expanding. Why would they exclude anything? They're going to expand benefits by $200 billion without any corresponding reduction in spending, thus speeding up the bankruptcy of Social Security, saying Vice President Vance and 24 Republican senators voted for this. 25 GOP senators joined me to oppose this. And here's the list. Who made the right vote? Well, you can decide on that. And the people who voted to cut spending are right. Now, Benny Johnson had a great interview with Utah Senator Mike Lee and was asking him about Elon for the speakership. And Benny Johnson is going to be speaking here at AmFest from the main stage sometime very soon. And we're excited to hear that. Here is what this clip sounded like.
It was the sine qua non, the without which not, the indispensable element. It would not have occurred without them. So how do we go forward then? How do we do this? First of all, we're going to need leadership. We've got new leadership in the Senate coming in the coming year. And I believe that the writing's on the wall, unless I'm just mistaken. It seems to me that new leadership in the House is almost inevitable. If that's the case, I think we need to go outside the box. I think we need to look to a different place. Remember, neither the Constitution nor the House rules require that the Speaker be a current member of the House of Representatives. And I propose that they elect either Elon Musk or Vivek Ramaswamy. Look, the Doge movement is enormously popular in the House. Just listen to House members who are Republicans. They can't get enough of them, including many of the people who have been part of this swampy process. They praise Doge. Oh, Doge is going to save this. If that's the case, that being the case, given that they all have expressed such affection for Vivek and for Elon, let them choose one of them. I don't care which one to be their speaker. That would revolutionize everything. It would break up the firm. We would now have government of the people, by the people, and for the people, rather than this cartel from the firm, which is systemically corrupt.
Absolutely right. So shout out to Utah Mike Lee. He gets it. And others are telling us that there's a shift in this spending problem that we've seen come up every single year. And it's usually right around Christmas time when they know that we're going to be focusing on other things so they can just shove this down everybody's gullet. But here's the background from Fox News. They say House Majority Leader Steve Scalise came out and said that that old spending bill that we talked about yesterday is now dead. He confirmed to reporters that the deal was dead while leaving the Capitol Wednesday night. Came after GOP critics of the spending bill spent much of the day blowing a gasket, as we all did. It's unclear if Paul was serious in his suggestion that Elon be the speaker or if it was tongue-in-cheek. But Democrats balked at the idea. Senators should stick to senating and House members should stick to their chamber, said Williams wrote on X. No House member gives a damn what a senator thinks about who should be speaker. No, I think they might. And Marjorie Taylor Greene backed the idea. She said, I'd be open to supporting Elon for speaker. Greene wrote, Doge can only be truly accomplished by reining in Congress to enact real government efficiency. The establishment needs to be shattered just like it was yesterday. This could be the way. Johnson ascended to the speakership. It's very close majorities. Hakeem Jeffries said last week, no Democrats are going to vote for Johnson. Republicans hold a 4-seat majority. Johnson maintaining the gavel, that's also not guaranteed. Thomas Massie said that he's not going to vote for Johnson, barring some sort of a Christmas miracle. Nostradamus. Earlier this year, Massie supported Greene in pushing to remove Johnson from the speakership, but then they spiked that ouster, and now we've got Johnson. Victoria Spartz also saying she's not going to caucus with Republicans, and so maybe that might have an impact. Josh Hawley also took aim at the House Speaker for the situation, and so things are getting tense over there. Newsweek had a full list of Republicans who are considering Elon for Speaker. Mike Lee, Greene, Rand Paul. Looks like this is new, but maybe the momentum will continue to explode. Rand Paul is somebody who has been screaming about fiscal responsibility for many, many years. And if we could get Elon or somebody like Elon at the top of the helm, that could cause real progress. So we'll keep our eye on this one as well, my friends. Rand Paul saying, make Elon the speaker. Maybe it'll be a Christmas miracle. All right. And so, my friends, it has been an amazing stream with you today. Let me show you what's going on around here. You can see they just kicked on some music. Sounds like a little AC/DC over there. Here's what's happening out here. There's a line that's forming right here for something. Don't really know what it is, but it's forming. I think somebody was saying there's going to be the Daily Wire down there or something. So that's all happening now, my friends. But if you're just joining us, we're here at AmFest. We're here on day one. It's going to be a jamming night tonight. I think Tucker Carlson speaking. I think Steve Bannon's going to be here with Charlie Kirk. Daily Wire crew's here. If you want to check out a video that I made that is behind the scenes of AmFest, go check that out at watcherlodge.com. All of the PDFs that we cover and our show notes are at watcherlodge.com. Watcherlodge.com. It's free. Check it out. Sign up and go join in on the fun. If you're at AmFest, we also set up an event chat there. So if you want to meet, if you're here solo, if you're meeting with other friends here, or need to meet some people, check it out. It's there. It's free. It's watcherlodge.com. Now, we had a great stream. We talked about Fani Willis. If you're just joining us, we had a whole segment on Fani Willis, went through the Court of Appeals order that is now disqualifying her from the Trump prosecution case, and that is going to bring nice closure to that case. It's still going to linger on. She'll appeal it to the Supreme Court, but will it go anywhere? We'll see. We also talked about Luigi Mangione. He's got a new federal indictment, came down, new murder charges there, stalking charges, and he waived extradition. So he'll be in New York for a bit. His defense attorney saying they're going to fight all the charges. And so we'll see what the other updates are when some of their motions start to come in. Now that the charges have been filed, they'll start to submit their responses, their demands for discovery, their notice of defenses and other things, and we'll be looking at those. We also talked a little spending. Elon Musk, maybe Speaker of the House. Short segment on that one, but a boy can dream. That would be fun. Could you imagine? He can't really fire 80% of Congress like he did for X, but he can do 80% of something. So we'll see what that is. But my friends, now it's time to hear from you and see what you say about all this. You can see we got some tunes rocking back here. Rocking and rolling. And I think it's a veterans. Oh, this is main event? Wow. Okay. Okay, so we're learning. We got my beautiful father, Greg, is here. Greg's over here. What's up, Greg? Saying hello.
Hello.
And we're here hanging. So apparently this is the line to get into the main event, he was just saying. So the main event is opening up in about 30 minutes or so. And then, so they're rocking and rolling, man. They're rocking and rolling. And so now, my friends, let us hear from you. Let's see what you say about all this. We're going to set up, as soon as we're done here, we're going to set up another mic, and then we're going to start figuring out the interview circuit and how that works. We've already had some people come by and say they'd love to come talk to us. We had this guy who is, I think, a producer of the Grid Down series. So this guy's here, Grid Down, and he's down to come chat with us. He's got this Grid Down card, so we'll go check, maybe chat with him. We also have this guy, HG, who's talking about political warfare from EPAC. He also just came by, so maybe we'll chat with him at some point. We've got the lectern guy is here. There was a young gentleman who was very passionate about abortion. He just wants to talk about abortion. He's just like, I just want to talk about it. I'm like, all right. We'll see what we get into here. So it's going to be a busy weekend, my friends. I hope you're enjoying AmFest if you're here. But let's see what you have to say about this. I saw some great donos coming in. We want to say thank you to our amazing mods and our meme smiths. Let's see what we've got here on the day. It's a beautiful Thursday, my friends. And so here is one of the posts here. Happy Thursday, indeed. Happy Thursday. I don't know what that is, like a penguin? A penguin? Hey, Voice of the People. Says, I saw your tour of AmFest. Thanks for the accidental shout out. We hope to be there soon enough with off label. It wasn't an accident, Voice. I was thinking of you. So there's another booth here called Voice of the People AM Radio or something like that. And we were walking by on the video. You can watch the video. If you're a member, we posted it. But if you're not a member, you can check it out at watcherlodge.com. Grab that link there on your screen. Go check it out. This place is gigantic. And everybody's here. And if you watch the video, you'll see what I'm talking about. Thank you, Voice. We'll see you here, man. I think we might be back here. We're having a lot of fun. So hopefully we see you back. We got Yeshua's Healing and Deliverance Ministry. Yeshua, thank you for that. Yeshua's Healing and Deliverance. Thanks for the dono. And thanks for healing people and delivering them. CEO Pangea says, dude, talk about 1/2 step backwards. Oh, come on. And get out of... Thank you, CEO. We love our friends here. We like to be close to our friends. And, this is a safe space. Fani Willis is not here. People don't have noxious odors. Everybody loves America and the Constitution. So you can get very in close proximity to people. It's a welcoming environment. Thank you, CEO Pangea, for looking out. And here's one from Villaplot. Villaplot is giving us a dono. Says, because Ricky said to give some money, sending in a dancing kitten thing. So thank you, Villaplot, for that one and for the dono. And we love Ricky for plugging the show. He's such an awesome dude, man. It was great talking to him. I didn't even know what to say. Here, what's up? Object Class Keeter says the likelihood that another prosecutor will continue the case is very low. But the real question is how the next prosecutor will end the case. That's a great question. And, usually like an unceremonious dismissal would be like in the interest of justice, or if they don't want to dismiss it in the interest of justice, is like generic. Okay, they just in the interest of justice. Why? Whatever. Come up with any reason. If they even take it, but if they take it, like if they, I don't know how this works. Like, do they assign it and you have to take it? If the committee votes to assign it, it's yours now. Does a prosecutor in Georgia have the ability to decline it? Like, this case will go to the committee, and then the committee, can they just shove it onto your desk, or can you reject that? And if you do get it, can you then just turn around and unceremoniously motion to dismiss in the interest of justice? Or they got a bunch of reasons. They could just cite the Presidential Transition Act. You can come up with a reason. MJ Powell, you're here, or you're here on the chat, or you're here on AbFest. Pleased to be here. Rob and the Watchers rock the world, the house, and the internet. Woohoo! You're right about that, MJ Powell. Thanks for being here for 8 months. One more month, we got a full baby. The Rubos are here. Hey, God bless you, Rob and the Watcher family. God bless you back, Rubos. Thanks for being here. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're looking for some good Christmas gifts, I don't know if they'll get there in time because it's the 19th already, but go to rubossaltshop.com, the best salt you've ever tasted. If you're eating that other store brand salt, I don't know what the heck you're doing, but sending you all our love and prayers for a blessed holiday season and a glorious new year. Merry Christmas to you, the Rubos. Merry Christmas with love from Donald and Cheryl Lynn, the Rubos. We love the Rubos. We love their salt. Glocky says, apparently a deal has been reached. It says, Speaker Mike Johnson and the House have come to a very good deal for the American people. The newly agreed to American Relief Act will keep the government open, fund our great farmers and others, and provide relief for those severely impacted by devastating hurricanes. It's amazing how fast they can write these 1,000-page bills. Who's typing this stuff up? A very important piece, vital to the America First agenda, was added as well. The date of the very unnecessary debt ceiling will be pushed out 2 years to the 2027. Now we can make America great again very quickly, which is what the people gave us a mandate to accomplish. Amazing. So, Freedom Gear. Are you around all weekend? Oh yeah, we're here. We're here all weekend. All through Sunday. We're packing up the booth Sunday afternoon. This is cool. I'm going to head down there. I can't stay the whole weekend, but I'll see if I can catch one of the keynotes. If I make it down, I'll bring you some of the engraved Trump wallets for giveaways. Amazing. If you want them. Sure, bring them out here. We'll give them away. No problem at all. That sounds awesome. I'm sure there's people here who would love some free wallets. Why not? Londo, what's up, Londo? Hey, Rob, how late will you be there at AmFest on Sunday? I can't do multiple days, but thinking about dropping by after church. So I think we can't even break down our booth until 12:30. The event will end, and then we have to wait till everybody's out until we break it down. So probably 12:30 or so is when we'll start to pack up and get out of here. Pookie's Ma, my tithing for the week. My tithing for the week from Pookie's Ma. Thank you, Pookie's Ma. We appreciate it. And thank you to Ricky for shouting that out, man. I like it. Pookie's Ma, you're the best. My mom is here. Rob's mom is in the house. What's up, Rob's mom? Says, haha, I sneak up on him. He never knows when I am on. I don't. But I always act like mom is watching. Always. It's a good rule of thumb. And then sometimes I forget and I call people bad names, like idiots and losers and morons. And then I have to remind myself, your mom's on the stream, Rob. Be careful. Thank you, Mom. Love you, Mom. Greg loves you too. Hi, Mama. All right, we love you. All right, we'll see you. Mama's coming down here tomorrow too. We're going to see Mama, I think, tomorrow. Mama G in the house. All right, we also got Philip Coggins. What's up, Philip Coggins? Says, Fani's claim of reimbursement are extraordinary, and extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Why have an inch of professional courtesy when she uses it, takes miles in her lies? Shaking my head. That's exactly right, Philip, and I think you were more articulate than I was. She should be held to a higher standard. It should be pretty obvious that she's, beyond, she should be beyond reproach. If you're going to be putting other people in prison and investigating people for ethical conflicts and violations, you cannot commit those at all. And she did, and didn't even care about it, and then got in court and lied about it and said, you're all idiots for even challenging me. Don't you know who I am? Don't be racist. from Philip. Thank you for that, Philip. Hey, we got babies in the house. A bad poet is here. Oh, the line is moving, my friends. The line is moving. Looks like they're going inside. A bad poet is here. Says, Elon is busy enough. Vivek for speaker plus debater number 2. Well, yeah, Elon is busy for sure, but it'd only be like a 2-year assignment, okay? He'll be there for 2 years. He'll get rid of 80% of the government. Then he can go back to rockets. Mars can wait 2 years, all right? And I think he can do them both simultaneously. Anyways. Hey, Brucey Bonus. What's up, Brucey Bonus? Thanks for becoming a supporter. Brucey B in the house. And Catherine Castano Rex. Look at you, Rob. You clean up very well, LOL. Have fun. We're having a ton of fun. Here, let me show you. The crowd is moving right now. Everybody's walking on in, making their way in to the main hall, the main event here at AmFest, day 2. All right, Catherine Rex, thank you for that. We had a couple other donos coming in. Let's see who is here. Oh my gosh, this is fun. All right, Glocky. What's up, Glocky? Sending in a dono. Hey, Rob, another interesting trial that's taking shape. Apparently, Jay-Z's people have impersonated Texas law enforcement. What? Attempted bribery. They're trying to talk to the lawyer who's suing Jay-Z's clients. Diddy's accuser attorney sues Jay-Z, accusing Rock Nation of attempting to turn his clients against him. Wow. Yeah, Jay-Z, Diddy overlap. Looks like a Breitbart article. Thanks for that, Glocky. Sharpie Guy, what's up, Sharpie Guy? Says Fani is like a drowning man and willing to drown the lifeguard to prove she isn't drowning. Yeah. Makes sense, Rob? Yeah, it's like you're trying to save that person and they're clawing at you and they'll end up drowning you both. The moral of the story is everybody drowns. Sick people, don't you agree? Yeah, I think that Fani would burn it all down. She was in the process of burning it all down. She was going to take out Judge McAfee and the rest of them and maybe the bar. But nobody wanted to touch her, okay? Nobody's even, until the Court of Appeals came down. Even the Court of Appeals was kind of like, well, it wasn't an actual conflict. Yes, it was. You guys know it. If this was some defense attorney somewhere, would have been disbarred a long, long time ago. She's a prosecutor. She gets a benefit of a doubt because she's Fani Willis, the biggest Fani in Georgia. She's corrupt. The courts know she's corrupt. We know what the standards are, okay? We all take the MPRE, the Model Performance Responsibility and Ethics exam, or whatever that is. She would have failed that many times over. In fact, her fact patterns could make up half the exam. All right, Sharpie Guy, good to see you. Kat Saunders, what's up, Kat Saunders? Gifted a membo to Gail C. And Shane is here. What's up, Shane? Thank you, Shane. Reminding everybody to hit that like button if you can. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing the show. And don't forget to subscribe. Knox, what's up, Knox? Happy Thursday, all. Feds don't trust what Bragg did with a real criminal case. What did I say yesterday about him deserving a change of venue? You're right, Knox. You did say that. You did say that. Because he might lose, right? And so I think they're freaked about maybe that Manhattan jury that we were talking about. Maybe you get half the jury that's like, well, he shot him in the back and he deserved it. So whatever. Hey, one old guy's opinion says you can be quite Rob instead of Frank. I am often quite Rob. That's a lot of Rob for sure. Here's a picture of the bill. Or maybe is that two bills side by side? Old versus new. All right. Yeah, that second one looks much better. You can actually read that one. Benjamin Lewis says, I guess the feds could charge anyone for anything. Yeah, basically. That's exactly right. They can. And there's that famous quote from Lev Beria, I think is his name, Lev Beria, which was Stalin's chief of police, chief of the secret police. He said, show me the man, I'll show you the crime. The law is whatever I want it to be. So that's a common concept. Waldo, Karma Plushie in the house. What's up, Waldo? Thanks for gifting a new membo in. Mrs. T. Rush is here. T. Rush, what's up? Says, frankly, I don't trust the FBI's investigation of Mangione. This was way too quick and easy. We're still waiting for the pipe bomb guy. I know. It feels strange. I mean, look, if you just look at the evidence, he clearly did it. He's guilty. They got it all. But how do they have, and we've used this phrase before, and I know it's vulgar, but an orgy of evidence. Okay, they had it all right there, and they found the guy with his face mask down eating a hash brown at McDonald's. Okay, Mary Ann Connolly, what's up, Mary Ann Connolly? Just became a supporter. Great to see you, Mary Ann Connolly. Thanks for being here. And here's this one from, okay, this is Lectern Guy. All right, I'm going to say, this is from Geegum Geegum. Okay, this is Adam Johnson. I just met him here today for the very first time. And he's going to come back here tomorrow. He's been traveling. He's like, I'm wiped today. So he's going to come back tomorrow. We're going to stream tomorrow or Saturday. We're going to have a ton of fun. But he was the guy who got that lectern, baby. We're excited to have him here and talk to him about everything. They've got a lot to talk about. So thanks for that, Geegum. Super fun. And he's got a charity. He's starting a charity up to auction those things off for charity. We'll talk about it. Hey, Philip Butler says none of the CR was for the Trump agenda. It was all pork. Yeah, and I'm learning as people were parsing through that they were also finding biolab bill stuff in there. They were saying that the Global Engagement Center gets more money. They were codifying, not firing certain people from the government. It was nuts. Sharpie Guy says, Rob, what are the chances that Luigi is a patsy? Innocent until proven guilty, but it's so much a tidy bow on him. I'm skeptical, but either Luigi wants to be a martyr or truly is MK Ultra or a moron that is belied by his accomplishments. What say you? It's a good question, and I think it depends on, how you want to frame it. I mean, I'm a defense attorney, so I believe in the presumption of innocence, and I'm always doubtful of the government's narrative. So that's my initial instinct on any case, is to take a look at the prosecutors and say, what are you doing here? What's real, what's not real? By default. Then you add in Alvin Bragg, you add in New York, you add in the Southern District of New York, you politicize this case, and then you have these weird things like all of the evidence. You can't really see consistency in his behavior. The guy goes through great pains to hide his identity and to not be found, and then is suddenly caught with all of the evidence in his hands. It feels a little strange. It feels a little off. I am also open to the idea that this guy was on, right, a plausible hypothesis might be that he was out tripping on ayahuasca or shrooms, which I think was in his reading list. So maybe he was caught up in an episode, like a psychic break episode, and did it, or he was caught up in a psychic break episode and became the patsy. Okay, doesn't remember what happened during that time. Someone else did the shooting, left all the evidence on him. As he's coming out of his hangover, drops him off at a McDonald's and shoves him with some hash browns. Somebody calls it in. That could also be a plausible explanation for it. That would be like an operation, and it's a little bit more down the conspiratorial rabbit hole there, but that could be a defense. Somebody else did the shooting. He stayed at the hostel. He was at McDonald's. Somebody else did the shooting. He can't account for his time. He had all the evidence on him. He was high somewhere. Maybe he doesn't even know if he did it or not. Something like that. And MK Ultra was a real thing that actually existed. Spuds, what's up, Spuds? If Elon were to get it, he would be the first African-American Speaker of the House. Because he's from Africa. That's funny. Rabicus, what's up? Haha, make Ron Paul Speaker of the House. His nickname in Congress was Dr. No. I still have my autographed picture from him from 2012, which is amazing. Shout out to Ron Paul and Rand, two American heroes. Hey, Stacy Milliken says, am I right that Elon cannot be president? That is right. He's not a natural-born citizen. And if he cannot be president, then he cannot be speaker because he would be in line after the vice president. So he's not a natural-born citizen. So I think that if he were in line for the speakership, for the presidency, and something happened, he would just be skipped over. There's a whole secession act, actually, that articulates what that is. You're right. He would be in line. But I think you would just skip him. You just go to the next eligible person. And we've read that statute before. And I think that's even what it says. Like, you just go to the next available person who can assume the office, whoever that happens to be. So I think we can still do it, Stacy. Let a boy dream. Okay. All right. What's up? Nelson Big says, I have a desktop link to your channel. Could we get a wink or anything you'd like for the thumbnail? I have a desktop link to your channel for the thumbnail. We, the people, are the government. You want like me to wink on the camera? Like that? Kind of like that? I don't know. Is that what you're looking for? Happy to wink for you. But Nelson, I apologize. I'm not really sure exactly what you're requesting, but we tried to deliver here. Nacho Mama in the house says, hope you have a fun weekend. It's going to be fun, Nacho Mama. Can you hear the tunes in the background? What's up, Chetty Mo? Hey, Chetty Mo, it's good to see you. I was reflecting on our exchange yesterday, Chetty Mo. It was a funny one. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here. Hey, Jigum. Jigum. Hey, a little something to help out with the expenses during this amazing event. Imagine it's pretty pricey. You're the bomb, Rob. It was a little bit expensive, Jigum. The booth was pretty inexpensive, but the internet was very expensive. And I got to say, the internet's not even working right now. So, like, the cable they gave us, we're not even plugged in, and we're still streaming. So it's not working, but we're going to keep figuring it out. But that's amazing. Thank you, Jigum, and thanks for, I don't know about Superman. I don't know about that, but I appreciate the encouragement. So and thanks for getting our new logo on there. And my friends, if you want to check out the new logo, the new rebrand, and see more about all this stuff behind us, you can check out the website at robertgovea.com and learn more about what's happening over there. What is this, a GIF? Wow, it's a spotlight GIF. Jigum, hey, that's amazing. Man, I wish I could fly like that. I don't know how you do that stuff, Jigum. I don't know how you do it so fast, but I love it. You're amazing. Jigum, our meme smith extraordinaire in the house, memeing the heck out of the place for us. Thank you, Jigum. I love it. I love it. Hey, Knox says, talk to everyone, Robert. You never know who may say something that gives you a new perspective on something. You're 100% right about that, Knox. There's that kind of that rule of the bumpy world. The world kind of bumpy. You bump into a lot of people, but you don't really know what that's going to lead to. Kind of like the chaos effect. And I've gotten entire worldview perspective shifts at events, which is why I go and enjoy events. Most of them have been Genius Network and other of these personal development events, but that has only been because that's been my domain. Now this is a new experience, a new domain, a new chapter. And so we're interested in moving forward here. Thank you, Knox. Really, really glad to have you here. Great advice. One old guy says, in the interest of justice, we move to dismiss due to Fani being terrible. It's a good reason, good legal basis too. Hey, Knox says, all my son-in-laws are getting Rubo's salt for Christmas. Thank you to the Rubos. They're going to be so happy. All their food is going to taste like it came with seasoning from salt that came from the bottom of the French Ocean, because that's where it comes from. That's how good it is. Hey, we got a baby in the house, Beth. 9 months as a membo. Thank you, Beth, for being here for 9 months. Thanks for all your hard work, Rob. Thank you, Beth. Thanks for being here. I really enjoy our time together. And Acid Burn says, Rob, you are a hero. Only 8 I have. Great job. Only 8 I have. Great job. Acid Burn. Thank you, Acid Burn, for being here and for the dono. Coyote says, I'm still an unborn lob of bits. It's true. You are, Coyote. It's only been 4 months. Got a little bit more firming up to do. But you're on your way. We appreciate it. All right, shout out. We got veterans in the line. Shout out to our veterans.
Yeah, first responders. We have a line right now. Raise your hands.
First responders in the house. Shout out.
It's like a little now. It's like attached to our body. I want you to go like this. Because that's the fuel.
America's Wall of Honor is right here.
You are the fuel. Our donations, yes, I'm asking for a donation. $1, $2, $10, $20.
Donate to the veterans, baby. Donate to the veterans. Okay, so little bit of noise in the background, my friends. Nelson says, that was perfect, Rob. Thank you, as always. Always great. Thank you, Nelson. Hopefully it came through okay. I know there's a lot of background noise here today, but we got business to attend to, background noise or not, you know? Hey, Sharpie guy, I'm entirely grateful for your keen perspective, Rob. Have a great weekend. Enjoy it while we enjoy everything you bring to us. Sharpie guy, thank you, man. Blessings. Blessings back to you. Where We're excited. All right. My friends, really nice donos. Thank you for sending those in. Thank you, my friend. All right, so shout out to our veterans who are here. All right, so my friends, it has been a beautiful stream. Let's say hello to our friends on X before we wrap it up and go over to locals for our members only after party. Then we're going to come back tomorrow. We're going to start mixing and mingling and have a more interactive experience starting tomorrow. And I'm excited to talk to the lectern guy and more. But let's see who's on X today before we wrap it up. James Pepper, what's up, James Pepper? James Pepper says, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everyone. And here's a video of a dancing dog. Jesse Oppenheimer says, what are the odds that another prosecutor takes up these charges is less than zero? Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, I can't imagine another prosecutor would want this case because it's tainted from the very beginning. And there were problems with their prosecutors even during the trial. Remember that other woman, Anne, left the case, never came back? I think the case is bad legally. They don't have a good justification for the charges by itself. Now, on top of that, then you add in the fact that the lawyers who are bringing those claims are Fani and Nathan. The case has to just be a disaster. So not much there. Thank you, Jesse Oppenheimer. Crypto Nerd, what's up? Ramoon in the house, and Bad Poet says Vivek for speaker. All of that coming over from X. And so, my friends, it has been a great stream and a lot of fun. We're going to wrap it up here on the day. We're going to go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com and mix and mingle with our locals fam. Then we're coming back tomorrow. And what I'm doing the rest of the night is I'm going to connect with some people and try to get a nice lineup scheduled for us tomorrow. And then we'll be back. And it's going to be great. So tonight, I think Tucker Carlson is going to be the main headliner. If you're here at AmFest and you are part of the Watcher fam and you want to connect on chat, hop in the chat. WatcherLodge.com is where you can do that. You can also check out our website, RobertGovea.com, and try the new Ask Rob G bot and more. And so it's been a great Thursday, my friends. Tomorrow, it's going to be a Friday. And we're excited about that. And we're going to need to see you here when we come back tomorrow to get into it. Always want to thank our mods, K Bean, Donut, Mind Me, Carrie B, Playin' Hooky, Dog Digger, and Janek over on the Rumbles. And of course, John McGarvey, modding the fort down for us. And we're very grateful to our mods and our meme smiths. Shout out to Jigum Gigum and more. Boopsy's in the house. Says, Rob, I may have missed it. Says, Rob, I may have missed it. What does truth stand for behind you? And it's an acronym. Trust, responsibility, unity, tenacity, and hope. Trust, responsibility, unity, tenacity, and hope is the acronym for truth. That's what we stand for, baby. And this old guy says, hey, Rob, Fani's out. The government is getting shut down, and Elon's coming in as speaker. The gifts just keep on coming, baby. A little dono to assist you, and all you do to take us places that we can't get to. Oh, man, this old guy. That's a really nice dono, my man. Thanks for that one. Really glad to have you here. We do keep winning, and things are indeed good. And so, okay, my friends, before we wrap it up, I want to introduce you. It's make sure you say hello to our beautiful Alexis, who's here with us. Hello, Miss Beautiful Alexis. All right, so she's here, also helping out, and we're having a great time. So we are going to go hang out on Locals for a little bit, and we're going to make it a great evening here, mixing and mingling and seeing what's happening. Look at it, everybody, man. It's full house. Got a full house, a lot of people here making their way into the main event. Okay, so it's been a beautiful stream and a beautiful day, my friends. I want to thank you for being here. We are coming back here tomorrow to get into this all again. And in order to do that appropriately, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.